Hello, hi, good afternoon. Pleasure to speak to you all today from London. Hope you can all hear me. I'm very happy to be able to introduce iFlow to you today. This is how we track, based on our custodial flow data on a daily basis, 50 trillion with a T dollars worth of assets under management. So we are under custody. We are in a position to basically look at 20% of the world's assets in foreign exchange, equities, and fixed income, identify what is being bought, what is being sold, what is long, what is short, and inform our investors in making decisions accordingly. So I'm going to share my screen right now, and hopefully this will give you a better sense of how we track things. So here we go. All right. Okay. So before we start, this is our landing page, and just to stress, for clients of BNY, this is a freely accessible page tool. So please do get in touch if you have interest. I just want to show this slide first, just to tell you a bit about what the data actually covers. About 60% of the assets are in fixed income. 35% in equities, and the others, money markets, some other forms of paper, which are more short dated. If I break down our clients by geography, 70% is in North America. This includes mostly in the US, but we have a very large Canadian franchise as well, and about 20% in Europe, Middle East, Africa, and the rest split between Asia Pacific and Latin America. For four countries, well, for four jurisdictions in particular, the US, Canada, UK, and Eurozone, we can look at both sides of flows, which means we can see, for example, what is being done by European clients in Europe, and also UK clients in the UK. And we can also identify what international clients are doing in these markets as well. And for an economy like Turkey's, it is more important and relevant for us to look at, what are the funds and flows going in and out of Turkey. So let's have a look at what the data is showing. Now, this, let me just expand this a bit more, shows you flows from yesterday. So we calculate our data on a trading day plus one basis. At around 2:30 Istanbul time, we will be able to identify what basically happened, what was bought, what was sold the previous trading day. This is particularly important if there are events late in a day, for example, a Federal Reserve decision, and we can see how the markets reacted. And I'm sure you will all be happy to see that yesterday, the best performing currency was the Turkish lira. Right. So this is based on our foreign exchange flows in forwards and swaps. So you can see here that I've chosen foreign exchange, and we have various different asset markets we can track. So let's just go to fixed income right now, which is probably the better side of data that we can follow. And as you can see, we have 46 different countries here in terms of data performance, from smaller frontier markets such as Ecuador and Peru, to larger G10 markets, UK, US, and our data perhaps is best positioned to look at what's going on in treasury markets, given our role in that particular space. So what I wanted to do specifically today is to highlight some of the trends we are seeing in the Turkish assets, because notwithstanding the global environment, as you know, recent geopolitical developments have been very, very relevant for Turkey, and we can see, how the markets are reacting accordingly. So what I'm doing right now is I'm going to select foreign exchange and select a time series. And I'm just going to look at year to date, what's going on with the Turkish lira. So I'm going to do this a bit quickly in the interests of time. If you're interested in exploring this further, please do get in touch. So these are our flows into the Turkish lira year to date. And you can see the flows have been very positive throughout the year. And there's been a surge over the last 2 weeks as well. So why, if we just leave the developments, especially in Syria, over the last 2 weeks aside for a second, why has the Turkish lira performed so strongly year to date? I think two words matter. Nominal rates or just interest rates in general. So Turkey has held nominal rates at very high levels, and now should inflation come down in line with the TCMB's targets, then real rates will rise as well. And we can appreciate in the current environment where dollar rates are still quite high, it is very important to have high nominal and real rates for emerging markets. For example, last night we saw the Brazilian central bank hike rates by 100 basis points. And that, again, is a reaction to domestic inflation, but the need to maintain high real rates in the face of a strengthening dollar. So what can we do with a chart like this? We can identify trends. So daily flows can be a bit noisy. So I'm just going to look at quarterly flows, for example, and these are scored flows, by the way. So what it means is how many standard deviations we're seeing of flow over the last over the last year. So this Monday, for example, on the 9th, it was 3 standard deviation flow and the largest for this year on a score basis. But again, if I look at overall quarterly flow, we can see in 2021, 2022, it was a very difficult environment when the Fed was thinking about hiking rates and the world was looking at reflation. Turkey at the time probably struggling a bit more with inflation, so there were outflows. But since early last year, as monetary and fiscal policy, I would add, started to move towards a track that was favorable to markets. We can see that the flows have been very, very consistent, very limited outflows apart from last month. And that was only because the markets were more interested in owning dollars in the wake of the US election result. So this is a trend over the last 3 years. And we have strong enough data to actually go back even further. So I don't think we can do 2012, but let's say if I just go back to 2010, for example, for G10 currencies, our data goes back to 2002. So it's very much available. So here we can see the largest outflows in Turkey were around 2020. This is during the pandemic. We saw a lot of this across emerging markets, but overall, as a high yielding currency, flows have been quite positive. So I'm just going to reset this and look at very short-term flows. I'll go back to the Turkish lira, and I just showed you forwards and swaps, but in foreign exchange, spot flows are very important as well. And given our custodial role in the global market, when we see a spot flow, a spot transaction in any market, that tends to represent our global clients interested in buying some underlying assets. And again, here we can see these are record high flows into the Turkish lira earlier this week. So some of that has been offset, people going in and out, but the net result, again, is still quite positive for the Turkish lira right now. So this indicates that our clients are quite active in owning the lira and using the lira that they have to buy underlying assets. So this is a very positive message that we're seeing right now. If we look at, so these two charts that I'm showing you right now answer the question, what's being bought and what's being sold? So buy, sell. But in foreign exchange, what's as important, if not more important, is positioning, which indicates what is owned and what is not owned. So how long or how short are markets in a particular asset class? And in this case, in the lira. So I'm going to go back to forwards and swaps and go into the Turkish lira. And here I will just look at scored holdings. So this basically will be an indication of how long or how short our clients are in the currency. And as you can see that I'm going to smooth this out a bit over the last 3 years, you can see the evolution of the currency. Our clients were quite short in 2022, but over the last 2 years, they have steadily begun to accumulate Turkish lira, and now they are still comfortably long. Sometimes I do get concerned that markets are a bit too long. They own too much the currency, and that was the case earlier this year. It wasn't any judgment on fundamentals in Turkey. I've been positive on the Turkish economy all year, but you know the phrase, sometimes something is priced for perfection. So when you own above benchmark too much of a particular asset, it is very difficult to justify adding to it. So that was my slight concern. And as you can see, from August all the way up until early this month, total long positions in the Turkish lira, they have about halved. So now they've picked up a bit. And in my view, anything above 2 is considered high. So we are approaching a level where interest in Turkish lira is increasing a bit excessively again. But I think that can only be a sign of the economy doing well. And I think recent events have played into this too. So I mentioned earlier, looking at spot flow, it appears that our clients are looking at owning underlying assets in the Turkish lira. So here, let's test that thesis. So I'm going to move from foreign exchange to equities. And here we just go back to the daily flows and let's tighten things up to see what's been happening since September. Has there been anything specific, for example, over the last few days? Sorry, this is positioning figures, but if I just look at scored flow in the Turkish lira, sorry, in Turkish assets, again, something seems to be happening here. Over the last 2 weeks, okay, and it seems to match up with the developments in the region quite well on a fundamental basis. Turkey has been very well performing in equities. Our clients have materially moved back into Turkish equity markets. And if I extend things out further to beginning of January, for example, so year to date, this is the best round of buying of Turkish lira, of Turkish equities since this period here in July. So net, we can track how international clients are positioned with regard to equities as well. And here, one thing we can do in addition to holdings is if we just go to asset flow, for example, and I will change the aggregation into a cumulative sum. So let's just see year to date in dollar terms, how much in terms of Turkish assets. Okay, so excuse me here. We seem to have a technical challenge in terms of getting data in. Okay, so, okay, I beg your pardon here. Yeah, so year to date, it still seems, that our clients have really been very firm in adding to Turkish lira assets. So I'll try to avoid a nominal figure here. I'm just going to try to do this on. Okay, we have a technical challenge here. Never mind. So if we just look at the average weekly flow, for example, sorry, this is the US. If I go back to Turkey, so again, this is an indication of overall equity index flow. And subsequently, we can move into fixed income, which I think is an even more important market in terms of global asset allocation. So if we look at interest in Turkish government bonds, I would probably say less strong compared to flows that we're seeing in equities. But again, over the last few months or so, these flows have been very much positive. So overall, I think the message is, clients want to add exposure to Turkish assets, and I would probably say that within all of the emerging markets, that we track, Turkey is currently, one of the strongest performing ones. If I look at all the asset classes in the Middle East, for example, Egypt and Turkey, these are the two economies with very high real rates, and policy credibility is strong. The currency has been weak, but because fiscal policy, balance of payments have been put on a much more sustainable footing, this is much more positive now in terms of what our clients are looking to do. So what is the point of looking at all this? How does this benefit our clients? So what I've shown you is just one specific economy. So over the medium to longer term, what we want to be able to do for our clients is something along these lines. So here, for example, is a snapshot of all of the currencies that we track right now. So I'm going to just go to G10, these developed economies, and I'm going to add economies in the EMEA region. So you can see here, here's where the Turkish lira is. It's very strong, but also current position, still losing a bit of money, but largely flat. But look at this group here, where we can see from Swedish krona to the euro, for example, our clients have been selling euro very, very aggressively. So let's say you want to have a look at what to do. The ECB has just cut rates by 25 basis points. Do you want to sell euros further, or do you want to think about adding some euros? Well, this is telling you now here that the euro is already very, very underowned. our clients are very, very short euros. So a lot of the bad news or the negative interest rate news is in the price. It is very difficult to justify. And I am very, very negative on the European economy, but it is very hard to justify, adding to euros, at least at this point in time. Let's see what Madame Lagarde says. So it's really helpful for our clients to compare how they are positioned against markets and add things accordingly. And over the medium to longer term, it really is a portfolio tool that we want to give our clients the available to do so. For example, this is our dashboard, whereby here you can see all of the currencies that we track. Turkish lira here is in the top right corner. What does this mean? Means our clients are very long Turkish lira. They're continuing to buy the Turkish lira as well. So this is a bit of an outlier. Again, a very, very positive story, but I'm concerned that a bit too much good news is in the price and maybe a bit of a pullback is needed. But then that opens up new opportunities for clients to add to positioning accordingly. And they are flashing right now is because we are, through this dashboard, marking to market live. We are tracking the profit and loss of our client positions with respect to each individual currency. So we always want to identify loss-making currencies with very stretched positions or other asset classes, and we're in a position to look at whether this asset class can move up or move down, will be net bought or net sold accordingly. Okay, so in the interest of time, I'll probably just end there. Again, this is just a small snapshot of what Iflow can do. We have thousands and thousands of time series here. So our clients, again, can use this tool, and we're more than happy to have a conversation accordingly. So from foreign exchange to equities to fixed income, we can discuss ESG as well. We have those kinds of indicators. I know the last panel talked a lot about ESG, and this features as part of our toolkit of sustainability. And also, we've just added an ability to look at short positioning, short interest utilization in equities and fixed income as well. And given my coverage space in the EMEA region, Turkey is a market that I look at closely. I was last in Istanbul several months ago. Look forward to returning and speaking to all of you again soon. Right. Thank you very much. Hope this was helpful.